Hello, good evening, welcome to Easy 8 Online Painting Club. My name's Danny, and as usual, it's another Friday, it's another weekend, it's time to get some paint on some unpainted minis. Or in my situation, some half-painted stuff, and I'm hopefully going to try and carry on and get more done. It's such a slog lately. Anyway, if you're new here to Easy 8, it's not a tutorial show or anything like that. There's loads of that stuff already out there. I'm not even that good. This is just a place. It is the place for you to come along, paint your miniatures with me live and the rest of the community over here. If you like what we do here at Easy 8, please do consider subscribing to the show, because every little subscription is a small gesture on your part and it means the world to me, and it helps this community grow and thrive, and it's a booming community. It's a wonderful community. Put my teeth back in, to be a part of, and I want it to get even bigger. So share the word, tell someone at work, maybe bring your kids along, etc. Subscribe, share, like, thumbs up the video, because apparently that does something for the algorithm, and I'm not going to pretend how to know if that works or how it works or anything like that. If you're working on something this evening, please do come along, drop into the live chat, pop in down there in the comment section if you're watching a little bit later on a retrospective. Tell us all about it, share some photos. You can put your photos up if you want on Facebook. We're on Facebook, we're also on Instagram, we're on Discord as well. If you want to join us after the show at the Easy 8 after party, you can come along and join on the video, or just the typey if you like. But yeah, you can kind of reach out and share photos, have a discussion. Maybe you're working on something and there's a problem and you don't know how to get past it and you need some help from me or from any of these guys over here. I'm gesturing, but maybe the live chat doesn't appear on this side of your screen. I don't know, but they're here on my screen anyway. Maybe you got a victory that you want to celebrate and you want to kind of show it off a little bit. This is absolutely a place for you to come and do that. We've got some people waiting for us this evening. We got Stafford. Sorry guys, going to miss you tonight. I'm out with my son at a gig. Have a good one. We'll catch up soon. Brilliant. Have a lovely evening. I hope you and your son go and have a cracking gig. Go and have some fun. You don't have to come here and keep me happy. We've got Adrian Evening, we've got Jeff Oi Oi. Hi guys, hope all is well. We've got, I can never say this on the first go, Christulus, I'm going to call you Chris, to make sure I get that out properly. Good luck, hope y'all succeed this week on your hobby projects, thank you very much. Yeah, look. Last week, last couple of weeks now, I've been working on 15mm train rail sets. Not because I'm a train track enthusiast or a train set enthusiast, although I do like them. I don't have any of that sort of stuff. This is just for scenics, for my 15mm World War II war games, and I've got a whole set of this stuff. If you want to know more about it, go back a couple of episodes. I'll talk about it at length. Oh, drop it. Don't break it now. It's taken me a couple of weeks to kind of really work out what colours I want, what techniques I'm going to use, the style, the approach, the aesthetic that I'm looking for. And even though it's still not what I had in my mind's eye, it's as close as I think I'm going to get. And when I've got a stack of all these different sets over here and over 350 individual sleepers to paint, it's time to press on. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. So I'm going to take you straight on over to the workbench. Here we go. It's a cup of tea evening for me. It's another cold evening in the studio, so not an adult juice show today, but whatever it is that you're doing this evening or drinking this evening, cheers. I hope you have a great weekend. That tastes like burning. So, as you can see here, this is the one that I did last week. It's pretty much finished. What I did last week at the end of last week's show was just make sure that all of the sleepers were all done. I painted all the rails a really nice dark brown. I really like brown. It's a nice colour to paint with. Did the top nice and silver. I could have made that look really, really special if it was a larger scale, but keep it simple. It's a small scale. Less is more. So I've just done a nice bright silver on there, and I really like the contrast. I like the way it's striking. It is the thing, isn't it, on this terrain piece. It is all about the train tracks, so make that stand out. When that's on a table, you know, with lots of other stuff surrounding it, that's going to be really quite striking, and I like that. The only downside to this whole project so far is that I still don't feel that the sleepers really stand out from the background of the grey, and I'm hoping that as I crack on through the project that, I don't know, something happens and I just kind of get naturally better at it, or it just sort of happens. Maybe it was just this test piece that I was struggling with. But as long as the rails stand out, that's where I'm really quite happy with it, and it is really quite shiny, isn't it? If I was to do anything more to this, it is literally to add a little bit of rust effect here and there, because I did put some photos up on Facebook, so if you want to go and check those out, much closer, much more detailed than it is just looking at this camera now. But you'll notice that it's got a lot of high detail all the way along every sleeper. It's got the connections that hold the rails down. It's got all the railroad spikes. Everything's got all the pins, and I think it might be quite nice to not every single one, but occasionally just do like a little bit of rust effect on them. But that's a later thing. I'm happy with this being what it is, and if I want to do rust effect, that'll probably be like an afternoon's work where I could do the whole set in one go. If I'm going to do rust effect nice and simple, nice and quickly, I will use enamel paints. So it's an additional setup. There's a lot of like white spirits and cleaners and thinners and things like that. It's very it's all oil based or enamel based. So I'm just going to keep it simple. So this piece is done. Yeah. I'm going to put this to a side that says it is done. I've got so much stuff coming out of every direction. I don't know where I'm going to put it, so I'll put that piece there. Brilliant. You can see that I had started already on this piece here, and the colour that I was using on the sleepers really does stand out, but sleepers are darker. So I've been using Agrax Earthshade to make them darker. It runs into all the details because they've got a really nice wood grain effect on all of them, which I really wanted to make them to kind of highlight that. But every individual piece is different. And when I was putting the Agrax Earthshade on these ones, I'm getting a lot of like pooling like this. So that's a bit of a shame, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. Adrian says, I would leave it alone. Looks good as it is. Don't overthink it. Sleepers generally don't stand out from the ballast. Thanks very much. I really appreciate that. That's a really nice thing to say. And it does kind of put my mind at rest a little bit. I know that the sleepers don't stand out from the ballast. I do get that. But as a piece, it's just quite nice to be able to show it off. If you think about this in terms of what the model has, it's got three things, hasn't it? It's got the ballast, the sleepers, and the rails. And it's generally nice to kind of identify and sort of isolate them and separate them as a nice piece without going too far. Because I could just do them all like really, really ludicrous colours and go, well, there you go, it's expressionist. But there's a margin, isn't there, between realism and just kind of trying to make it look shiny on the table. But yeah, I get what you mean. So yeah, what I'm just going to try and do is literally just try and crack on as much as I possibly can, and just get as many of these sleepers as done as possible. So I could move on to this one over here. I've got some more rail pieces over here. These ones are all dry brushed, I think. I could give them a quick dry brush to sort of bring them up to speed if I wanted. I think they are actually all done. I can't remember. If I was thinking about this, I could actually go back over my previous episodes and actually have a look and see what pieces I've actually done. But I think just basically I'm just going to take it section by section. If it looks like it needs a bit of attention with dry brushing, I will do. But I'm not going to do anything that I don't need to do. Like Adrian says, it looks good as it is, don't have to overthink it. I'm going to turn my little heater off over here. It's very warm very quickly, that thing. So yeah, today is literally just cracking through the sleepers. So what I thought that I would do is I would just literally start getting this earth colour that is on these sleepers and just start painting them, get a lot of that legwork done. And then once I get a little bit bored of that, maybe every other one or whatever, I'll come in with some Agrax and I'll start staining them. I'm trying to kind of keep the show interesting and entertaining without drawing on the monotonous tasks too much, and trying to mix it up a little bit, and also for my own sanity at the same time, just trying to keep it fresh. You can't just keep doing the same thing all the time on the show and expect 1,000 subscribers and 400 views for every video. It's just not going to happen. So I just try to keep it as entertaining as I possibly can. Just going to make sure that I give my paint a good old waz on the Easy 8 Wazomatic there. It's not been used for a week. Do you know, my duties at work have changed because we're in the cold season now, in the off season. So I've got a lot less work pressures, but I just haven't found the time to come up into the studio to do anything between shows. So yeah, I've barely been up here. And that's a sad state of affairs. Anyway, here we go. Just going to pop a load of that in there. I am actually using the wrong one. I'm using my airbrush paint, so I've actually got the brush paint here, which just goes on better. But as I've already poured it out, I might as well just use this quickly. So, here we go. Do you remember last week I was trying to work out how to hold the piece? Shall I just leave it flat on the table and come back to it? You know, like, shall I like do this bit and you do all these bits that face me, come back to it by turning it around and, you know, doing each side? Actually, I think as good as my intentions were, it was a pointless endeavour. Waz, says Jeff. So yeah, just hold the piece and just paint it. So much stuff to do. Do you know what? Already I'm struggling with the airbrush paint. It's so thin because it has to go through the airbrush. If you use normal brush paints in an airbrush, it doesn't go through. It took me a long time to work that out when I first got my airbrush, and I was just trying to push normal paint through the airbrush. It was clogging and caused me all sorts of problems all the time. And I do like to use airbrush paints just generally because, well, you think about it, 2 thin coats, right? Whenever you're using a normal paint, you need to add water to it to kind of water it down. And airbrush paints are often around about the perfect consistency. Not all of them, it does depend on what brand and what colour in a particular batch. This one here, for example, is very, very thin, and I would have to do 2 coats with this. And while generally on like a particular model, like Gasgol that I was painting the other week, or you know, a small batch of Marines or something, that would be ideal. Have a paint that's already thinned out, do 2, maybe 3 coats on it, come back to it, do something different. But when I've got over 350 of these sleepers to do, what I don't want to do is have to double my work by coming straight back over it again with another layer. So yeah, where possible, don't use the airbrush paint. What I should probably do is just put that airbrush paint away so that I don't come back to it next week or even later. What I'm doing now is that paint starts to dry. It dries pretty quickly, to be fair. As it's drying now, I'm just doing that second coat already. Just giving it a little blob. There's a few air bubbles in this piece, but they are lost in the plethora of stones and details and whatever. And, you know, if you're making resin terrain pieces, you're not going to be able to get away with it scot-free all the time. As nice as that would be. But it's such a small piece. It's so super detailed. I really don't mind. It's such a good quality little model. Is it a model if it's terrain? Interesting take on words. Is this a model? Define a model would be a model in what the context that we use it, with something that you have to build and put together before you paint it. Because I haven't built this. This just came like this. What's happened there is I've put that paint on too thick, and because it's so watery, it's just filled all of the detail on there completely. So what I'm doing is just making sure that I am taking off as much paint as possible that I just put on and spreading it out across several individual sleepers. Well, that feels like progress, but of course that's actually only 1/3 of that rail set there, isn't it? Jeff says, you want to do what I do with my rail track and get someone else to paint them for you. Ha! Yes. Yeah, well, that was me. I did them for you. And do you remember when I did them, I did all like 16 feet of it or whatever it was that we had. And I got to the end of it and went, colour's wrong. I went back over and redid them all. Oh my goodness. What a week that was. Fun days. what I'm concerned about is just this is just going to take me such a long time to get these done. I think that psychologically, subconsciously, I am avoiding coming into the studio because it's cold and dark at the moment, and you just kind of want to spend the time in the comfort of your living room with the cats and my partner and the TV at the end of a cold day's work of work. I go to work when it's dark, I come back when it's when it's dark. And you just kind of want to be comfortable, don't you? So I don't come upstairs and avoid talking to my partner or hanging out with the cats or whatever. So I'm not getting anything done. So what I might do is start just bringing a piece downstairs and just doing a bit every day, and just get through the monotonous side of the task, which is sleepers. But I knew this when I bought these pieces. I knew that I'd have to do this legwork. And it's going to look really cool when it's all on the table, right? Glad I got you guys for company. A little bit of overspill there, so just take the opportunity to wash my brush out. Just clean that up. There we go. Nice and simple. Another advantage of having quite thin paint is that it seems to mop up quite quickly if you overspill, which is really easy on a scale this big when you're trying to paint fast as well. Paint's gone quite watery. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just cut straight to it. I'm going to get the brush paint rather than the airbrush paint. And I'm going to give that a good old waz as well while I'm at it, because every paint deserves a waz. Come on, waz. There we go. You should definitely go over to John's page, Out of This World Models and Minis. There's a link down below, and go and check out his googly eyes on his vortex mixer, and just listen to his laughing. It's worth watching. Don't know who John is? You should definitely go and check him out. A really swell guy and a staunch supporter of this show. So naturally, we're a staunch supporter back. Just paints whatever he wants, and he's really good at it as well. Just generally a really nice guy. So go and show him some love and get everyone onto his channel. Go, do it. Don't forget, if you are painting something this evening, do come and tell me all about it. I want to know what it is that you're working on. I'm genuinely inspired and motivated by the things that you do. That last batch there was a little bit on the thin side, so just going back over it. There we go. Not going to spend too long going back over it though. At first, when I started painting these, I was trying my best to avoid painting the pins, the little brackets that the railroad spikes go through. These little efforts just in here, but actually a pointless endeavour that actually had no benefit at all, other than I was just trying to be neat and not be complacent. But yeah, there's no point in that at all. The only colour that's going to go back, is going to go over it is a dark brown colour. So I might as well use a light brown colour, right, as a primer to that, as an undercoat. So yeah, who cares? I don't always get them. It's just if I do, I don't get precious about it, and I certainly don't try to avoid it anymore. As long as it isn't the ballast, who cares? Right, to this side. Now, half of the sections that I've got to paint are single and the other half are doubles. That's an approximate number. Roughly half of what I got is a single. So I do have to think that if I get all of these double sets done, then even though I'm halfway through the amount that I'm painting, it's over halfway through in terms of painting sleepers, right? All these little ways of thought, little tricks and things to kind of keep myself sane and motivated. I mean, that's motivation here is a real big impactor. And I'd love to know if you've got a job that's as monotonous as this at the moment. I know that Jeff probably does. Jeff says, "Don't forget, I'm booking you in for a paint job in the new year. 1/700th scale. Man of War." Absolutely. We were talking about this the other day. Jeff is my dad, in case some people needed to know. Hi, Dad. He also owns and runs Pepperline Creations, a little business that he has where he makes superb quality buildings. Not just saying that because it's a biased thing to say, but it genuinely is. He's a very, very talented artist and makes bespoke stuff, tailor-made to your requirements, your requests, the games that you're playing, anything. And recently, I think you've been asked to do something for Warlord Games Man of War, a game that I didn't really know much about at all, but it's all like galleons and things. Looks really exciting, and I have been requested to paint it, and I'll do it on the show. What a great opportunity to do something completely different. Never painted anything maritime before at all, so really looking forward to that opportunity. Thank you very much for asking. Always like to mix things up a little bit on the show. Just in case you didn't know, that is, I'm not a top class painter. I'm certainly not a commission painter. So if you're thinking, Easy 8 does commissions, I don't. I'm really not that good. I don't have the time for it. You'd be upset. Black Sails, that's the game. Black Sails. Oh look, there's a couple of sleepers down here that are hidden by the ballast. Yay, that's two little bits that I don't have to paint. Just come back in with some stronger coloration here. Just a few of these, they just need a little bit more. The psychological game of painting monotonous tasks. Adrian says, "Gaunts. I'm building and painting Tyranid Gaunts. Another endless task in some cases." I do like playing the Endless Swarm. It is fun, but of course it's a horde army. Do you know, I'm starting to see a theme in everything that I do here on the show. Lots and lots of the same stuff. Well, anyway, look, that's one side painted now. So just do this little bit here, and I'm already pretty bored of this. So I'm going to do this set of train tracks, this rail here, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to do all the staining on this one. I think I need to keep it mixed up. Occasionally buried under some ballast, making it a bit difficult to paint. But if it's hidden, I don't have to paint it at all, which is always nice. sometimes I get such a big blob on my paintbrush that I have to like blob it down somewhere in several places, go blob, 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 and then come back to it and then move it around with a somewhat cleaner paintbrush. Because if I was just to smear on the whole bit of paint that I've got, it would look awful. But also if I'm just picking up not enough paint every single time, then I have to go back to the palette, back to the palette. I do that enough as it is. So I try to pick up quite a bit, not too much, pick up quite a bit, and then blob it about. Kind of clean the brush off by blobbing it around, and then spread that around. It seems to be a pretty productive way of doing it. Just hope that I don't have to dry brush. This isn't a piece that I needed to do a dry brush earlier on, is it? Nah, it's looking pretty good, that actually. Jeff says, I've been dry brushing Grass Effect for the last 4 days. Deep joy. Well, do you know what? It makes me feel a bit happier that I'm not the only person just sitting here doing the grind right now. Come and tell me all about it. If you are grinding on a task, tell me. Oh, here's a slightly faster way. Just do these bits in halves, then turn it around. That's a bit faster, isn't it? Then get a tiny bit of water in my brush. The problem with brush paint, slightly thicker. A little bit easier to start getting it caked on and losing detail or quality. So a couple of months ago, I decided to make a list of all of the projects that I needed to do before the end of the year, or that I would like to have got done by the end of the year, for several reasons, which I'll go into in a minute. And one of the things that I wanted to get done on this list was to have all of these rail sections completed, and I'm just not going to have it done. And that is niggling at me every day when I'm thinking about having to make a schedule for the show, come on and find the time to get in front of the cameras and take a little bit of time out of the week to do my hobby. I am constantly thinking, I'm just not hitting those targets. Another reason why I'm not a commission painter, I just will not get it done, and that's been really depressing me lately, because it's not the only thing on that list. There's so much stuff. And do you remember, so a couple of months ago now, I came on and I was talking about the deceit of this show. The show is made to bring people together into the hobby, but to also kind of get your projects finished and get paint on unpainted things and finish things off. And the show, the way that the show works, is it makes you guys feel like that I'm getting my stuff completed. And actually, the ruse, I had to expose it. It's not the case. And I still got so much unfinished stuff, and that really, really bothers me. But like I was saying earlier, I've got to kind of keep the show moving. I can't keep doing the same thing all the time. I will be bleeding subscribers and followers if that was the case. People would just get bored. I'd certainly get bored. And I'm just not a fast or productive painter. So yeah, it's bothering me that I know it's an unrealistic endeavour for me to try and get all this done before the end of the year. The reason I wanted to get all this done, wanting to complete tasks and projects notwithstanding, of course, but the main reason is that next week, on the 2nd of December, I've been invited to go to Pudsey, which is between Bradford and Leeds here in the UK. It's quite a distance away from where I live. I live right down in the southwest. But I'm going along anyway because I was invited by Matt from the Pit Gaming Store. Hello, Matt. Who has taken over the show. And it's an absolute honour to be invited. It's the first show that I've been invited to go along to as, an entertainment provider, rather than being an attendee or someone who's just kind of visiting. It's the first thing I've ever done like that at all. So I'm going to be having a little display up there of stuff that I have painted throughout the time here on the air, on the airwaves, because that's what the show's all about, right? It's about coming together, painting some stuff, and showing you guys, face to face, the stuff that I've completed. And I just find it embarrassing that actually a lot of that stuff isn't completed. So I've had this list of stuff that I've wanted to get through, and I've just not achieved much on that list at all. So while I'm there at that show, I will probably be continuing with this project. Don't get me wrong, having the show has certainly meant that I've got way more done than I ever would have done without coming in and doing this regular slot. It's just a bit embarrassing, So sorry for the deception, guys. Sorry. Adrian says you have so much unfinished stuff because you keep buying new stuff. Yes, yeah, that, to be fair, that is absolutely the case. But, I'm neurodivergent, can't say that word, neurodivergent, and I have to have the dopamine hit. I do control myself as much as I possibly can, but sometimes I go to shows and I'm like, yeah, I want that. And a lot of the time, like, I'm only buying the absolute most wonderful stuff that I see, that I think will make a wonderful addition to my table. And I'm scared that if I don't get it now, I'll not ever see it ever again, or that thing will go out of production or be discontinued, or I genuinely think that I will get around to it soon and I will be able to finish it really quickly. It's just not been the case. I bought these pieces back in May. This is the first time I've got to them. They've always been sat there looking at me on the side of the table. I see them every single time I come into the studio. So yeah, it's high time that I got onto them. But you're absolutely right. Yes, I will always have stuff to paint if I'm always buying stuff. So stop buying stuff. Yeah. Thanks for calling me out on my own show. Cheers. But it's the hobby, right? It's a collector's game as well. If you think about what I'm doing here, when I get to the end here, that would be 2 sets of rail, where when I get halfway through all my stuff and I'm going onto the single tracks, that's two sets of things. That's two outstanding bits of terrain to paint. So it will speed up the further through this project I go. I just need to make sure that I stay committed, properly committed. As the paint's drying, I'm seeing a few sort of, unpainted spots really, so I'm just trying to make sure that I also keep my eyes peeled for missed bits. A little bit of quality control as I press on. Fine line between rushing it and getting it done quickly, right? So, when I attend the Recon show next week, I'm going to be displaying not just my own stuff, but also stuff from the community. There are lots of people that aren't able to come, but have offered me stuff, provided me with stuff to kind of show off and display stuff that has been painted, on the show. So while you guys are sat there now watching the show, watching this program, stuff that's being painted, and it's all like little success stories, right? Every little miniature that's being displayed on that table is a little story of success, and I think that's wonderful. Even if it's not a finished project, it's got more paint on it than what it started with, and that's what this show's all about. So yes, find me there, not just displaying my stuff, but also stuff from the community. So thank you to those people that have provided me with their stuff and trusted me with it along the way, because it is a good 6-hour journey each way for me. So of course I have to bring it back for those people. I'm also not going to be alone. I am being joined by some of the longer standing veteran viewers of the show, so expect to be entertained not just by myself but by my own little crew, which is wonderful. So thank you to the people who are coming. If you are going to join us, you'll be able to go and have a chat with me. You'll be able to see a show being run live, hopefully. Maybe lots of sort of walking around and doing live streams about all the traders and all the other stuff that's going on there. That's what I'm hoping to show off. But also you'll be able to play games with me, be able to play games with my crew. So we're going to be playing What a Tanker. Setting up a little table. They'll be playing games by themselves if you want to come along and join in, or even they will run a game for you so you can just kind of play against your mates. That's what they're going to be there for. So do come along. We are absolutely excited. It's going to be a hell of a road trip. We've been planning it for a long time. It's the first of any sort of endeavour that we've done like this before, so it's very untested grounds. So we're very deliberately not going into it heavy-handed. So it's going to be very bare bones, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm got all the gear and all the ideas to go with. So we're keeping it simple, just making a presence and trying to invite people to come along, to the show, join in, make the community bigger. So here we go. I've got that one. It's another one done. Yeah, only 3,000 more to go. This one here, I think this is the only one that's like this out of my whole set, but he's a little bit warped. So I don't know, can you hear that? Because he's ever so slightly wobbly. You put him down, he's not flat. Maybe he just kind of pulled out of the mould a little bit, and it's just ever so slightly, he's got like a little bit of wobble in him. So probably what I'll do when he's all done, I should have not painted it beforehand, but I only realised when I was painting it, is hairdryer, and hopefully it warms up enough that it goes blip. If not, whatever. So not Seraphim. We decided Seraphim wasn't the right colour. Agrax Earthshade. T. Here we go. Jeff says, you only need 6 sections done for a tabletop. You can do the rest later. 12. Because they're 6 inches, not... but yeah, they're that well detailed that they look like they're 12 inches long, right? So if I play on a 4x4 table, 2, 4, 6, 8. I need 8, not 6, not 12. So yes, good point. Thank you very much. 8 pieces. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I think I've got 14. I've miscounted there. I think I've got 14 sets. 2 platforms. Okay. Get a nice big old dollop of Agrax in the palette, because I just like to add a smidgen of water to it for this, because this newer recipe of Agrax Earthshade is a little bit more, not viscous, it's a little bit more sticky, so when you apply it down it doesn't just run away straight away, and I think that was something felt by the whole community who use this technical paint, and it's really sticky. That's all I've got to say on it, really. It's a sticky paint. So I like it to move around just a little bit more. I've actually got too much water in there, that's half a drop really. Got a wet brush and there's secret water secret water in my brush there, making it all a little bit more watery than it needs to be. Now you can see that it's already getting quite dotty, spotty, because the surface tension is kind of pulling it together in these big blobs, and I am trying to reduce that as much as possible. As I start to do that, though, I do run a risk of getting the paint over stuff that I don't want to be painted with this colour. I don't want it to really drip down into the ballast, which it will do, and even if it's just a little bit, it does show up. So I'm trying to be careful there. But if I start pulling it around, I end up leaving more drops. Such a frustrating thing. Try and do a couple at a time so I can keep myself sane. Not having to keep going backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. What's also happening with the surface tension of this paint is not only is it kind of pooling together in big unsightly blobs, but as a side effect of that characteristic is it pulls away from the surrounding area, so you get like really dark patches and then areas that are unaffected by the colour at all. So you really have to kind of keep it spread out. Adding water does help reduce that, but of course it makes it more runny, so it is more tendency to kind of run away into the other areas where you don't want it. I felt like a very explanation heavy set of words, but you know what I mean. I think the trick is just to kind of keep it moving, so even if it looks good now, it will dry, it will pull back into these little beads, and it's to come back to it, 30 seconds, 60 seconds later, and just kind of keep it moving, because it's drying as it's sat there, but it's still wet obviously, so you're able to move it around, but it's kind of stopping it from solidifying in these unsightly blobs. Of course I'm saying all this and I'm not in any way, shape or form an informed person on like the dynamics of paint, and so perhaps you're watching this and you're like, what the heck is that man talking about? I love the science of it all. Come and tell me, educate me if I'm wrong, or let me know if I'm right, because I like to be right too. Perhaps you're some sort of like, paint chemist, and you know your stuff, and you're like, no man, you've got it all wrong. That's not what happens when this paint is drying. It's doing something completely different. Not only do I find it interesting, but if I know how it works, I know how to kind of work with it and stop it from doing the things I don't like. Like Nuln Oil for years. It used to be such a wonderful cheat aid to me when I wasn't very confident or good as a painter. Certainly wasn't as good as I am now, which isn't still very good, but still not as good as I am now. Just to kind of slather everything in Nuln Oil. But as I got more confident in painting and more experience with it, you start to do less sludge washing with Nuln Oil, and you realise that actually it's a really poor quality thing. It doesn't do what you want it to do. If you're ever able to get it into the place where you want it to do, it doesn't do it properly and leaves you with all sorts of horrible effects and artifacting. I hated it. And I think that was generally a shared notion. I think people struggled with that, which is why they changed the recipe on it. It is now much better. It has a place in my paint collection. I don't use it very much anymore. It's still not ideal, but it's certainly a lot better. It has its places. almost there. Tiny bit of water. What I'm just going to do now is just scan up and down and just make sure that there are no big unsightly blobs. Trying to avoid it because you can see these blobs at the top up here. Like they don't. You can see them. They stand out quite a bit, and I just don't like it. That's actually quite hard to show you on the camera, but you know what I mean. Oh, I thought that there were new comments going in there. There are not. If you are painting something this evening, don't forget that you can take photos of it and stick it up on Facebook if you want to. I love seeing all your stuff, and everyone's always updating me during the week, and it's nice to see the stuff that you guys are working on. Don't forget, if you want to, you can also put them up on Discord. But Facebook seems to be the place that people like to go and put things. Whatever works for you. There we go. That's looking pretty cool, that. It's looking pretty cool. So now, just to keep myself sane from doing more, painting these things, they should all be dry. Yeah, they look like they're pretty dry. Gonna do some more staining. It all needs to be done. Close that because I know I'm going to knock that over in a minute. Tea! Yum. Okay, lots more rails to do on this set, so try and keep it fast. Let's see if I can get like a bit of a technique. Splodge a load on. Spread it out as much as you can, as quickly as you can. Trying to be neat, but not worrying too much about getting it on every bit of the wood. Splash this down quickly then. And then come back and then do like a whole set. Like you just kind of neaten them up in a second. Going a bit faster, isn't it? Okay, wash my brush out. Get my brush a little bit on the moist side, just so that it's not hugely dry. Put a little bit of paint in as well, just to stop absorbing everything that's been put down. I've got like a really dry brush, and the wash paint on there is still got loads of moisture. There'll be a tendency to draw it all straight up with capillary action, and that's of course something that I want to avoid. What I'm just trying to do is just spread that paintwork out, spread it out a bit more. I've put a little bit of that colour in the bristles as well. So adding too much water in my bristles and then kind of moving the paint around will also thin the existing paint down. So if I've got that paint in the bristles, it's not only is it moist, but it's got the same pigment in it, so it's not going to overly affect it. I don't know if that is an explanation that makes any sense the way I said it. I'm trying to keep my lonely self sane. Talk to myself. Do you know what? Actually, painting this sort of stuff up at the Recon show is going to be nice just to have company beside me while I'm doing it. Keep going. Starting to get a bit thin there. Production line takes some of the joy out, but sometimes you just got to do it. Yeah, you absolutely do. You're right. But you know, I think it's one of the nice things about this show is it. If I have to do this sort of stuff, if you've got to do it, it's the uglier side of miniature painting, isn't it? There's always the tasks that you don't want to do, that the only way that they're going to get done is if you just go ahead and do it. And yeah, like you say, it does suck the joy out of it. But I know that at the end, the time and effort that I put into it is going to show. And this is why I mix up what I do so much, so that you guys don't get bored and leave me, but also so that I don't get bored and leave me, and then I just never come back to it, or I come back to it in a really long time, or they just get forgotten. If I'm honest, they just get forgotten about, you know. I don't want to do that, so I don't. I'm hardwired for, you know, quick results. I need the thing now, and that's, you know, what Adrian's saying. You know, I keep on buying stuff. But that's because I need the dopamine hit. But he's absolutely right. Stop buying stuff. I have so many projects lined up as well. Like, it's not even a joke. Okay, look, I think I'm getting somewhere. It is pretty much time for a break as well. So let's move away from here. Yeah, we're an hour into the show, with another hour to go. That rhymes. I need to make that into a jingle. Halfway through the show, with another hour to go. I used to work at a local radio station a long time ago. So look, that's another set done, and I did that a lot quicker than that one over there as well. I know that's this one over here is slightly wider with more bits on it, but actually it's all about your technique, you know. Splodge the whole lot down, be quite rough with it. When you finish that section, kind of come back, neaten it up, spread it out a little bit more because it's already started to dry there, and that's actually looking really good, and I'm really quite pleased with that. That's a very effective way of doing that. Anyway, look, it's halfway through the show with another hour to go. I love that. You should definitely go and have a break and go find something else more exciting to do or watch. Whatever it is that you're going to do, go and change your paint water. Back in 10. See you in a minute. Bye-bye. welcome back. Hope you had a good break. I really didn't go anywhere. I've just been painting more and more and more. I thought that actually, while I'm in the zone and it's all going well, I should probably just stay here and just, like Jeff's just saying, production line stuff, right? So here I am. I've now finished doing all the staining on all of the sleepers that I've just painted, and I've got another section now where I'm starting to paint the light wood colour onto all of them. It's just going to be a lot of rinse repeating, and just trying to keep my spirits up while I do it. What I would like to be able to do in a minute is go in and highlight some of them, just to kind of show you the process that I go through now. Excuse me, but it is cold up here in the studio, so it's taking a little bit longer to dry. If I can get that dry brushing, it's very, very light dry brushing. It's a little bit of a detail brush. Just hiccups. Going in, make sure that I'm picking out all the edges of all the sleepers. What it's doing really is kind of restoring some of the original colour, but more than anything, it's kind of picking out the edges, which helps kind of lift them out from the ballast that is the majority sort of colour. And it seems to work. It looks quite nice. Once I've got that done, then I can go in and paint all the rails with a nice dark brown, and then just do like a nice silver on the top. That's the plan. That's what I'm trying to do this evening. If you are new here, or you've just joined us, or you've just forgotten, please don't forget that you can subscribe, and it would be really nice if you did, because it's a very quick button click for you, but every subscription here is, especially at the size of the YouTube show thing that I'm doing here, is so small that everyone is such a precious thing. So please, if you like what I do here, please do consider subscribing. Tell a friend, share it at the workplace, bring your kids along, get involved in the hobby with someone who really is kind of interested or whatever. You should be able to bring your kids along. It's a kid-friendly place. Don't say rude words or nothing. On Discord, however, that's an after hours. It's an after party thing. You can come along to that if you want to as well. So yeah, subscribe. Hit the thumbs up button. I always put that behind subscribe. Do the thumbs up thing, because it does something with the algorithm, and I genuinely have no idea how that works. I don't think anyone does. Not even the algorithm knows that. Subscribe. It would be great if you did. Thanks very much. Come and tell me everything that you're doing this evening. If you've got a project on your workbench, even if you're not working on it right now, what is it that you're doing? Tell me all about it. Take some photos. Stick them up on over Facebook. I love to see your stuff. Genuinely. Have you noticed that I'm playing with? I'm growing a beard, and I keep on leaning on it, and I keep on playing with it. I don't normally have beards, and it feels very weird. I'm starting my own paintbrush company, and I'm gonna start. No, that's a bit weird. Who's hitting hearts? Someone's hitting the hearts there. I saw those hearts flying across my screen. Who is that? Thank you so much. Love you too. I'm gonna go straight back over to the workbench now. Crack on with doing what I'm doing, but tell me all about the projects that you're working on this evening, because it'd be nice to hear about it. And anything take me away from this slog of a journey that I'm on right now. Here we go. Who's hitting the hearts? Who is it? Is it Dave? Dave normally does it. Is Dave in the live chat now, or you guys? Who is it? Show yourself. There's a delay from what I do here to what you see, and then me seeing that back again. That delay can be anything up to about 12 to 15 seconds sometimes. Other times it's just 3 or 4. But I wonder if you're pushing that heart button, have I got a delay from you guys? When you're pushing that, was there a delay? It's me! Yeah, I just wondered if the delay works both ways. Back in the old days, when I used to run this show with Kyle. Hey Kyle, if you're out there somewhere watching, hope you're well, man. Very early days, we didn't really know what we were doing. I still don't really. But he also had a very, very minimal setup with his computer in his new house that he was living in. Deeper southwest than I am. I couldn't show him what I was painting because our computers weren't demanding enough to be able to support that. So he had to watch the show live and just listen to my voice and watch what I was throwing out on the on the broadcast. And I'd show him something. I'd have to wait for about 20 seconds before he could see it and tell me what he thought of it. Oh, were the humble days humble. It's so funny looking back on that now. Still run very much the same sort of equipment, but you just get smoother at things, don't you, after a while. Where's my earth paint? There it is. Run out of it a little bit there. you can see that I've got these 2 rail sets here. They're all stained now. There is a little bit of spotting in some places where I wasn't able to stop the pooling of the paint, but I think actually it might help it make it look a bit more random, which will make it look a bit more realistic, right? Because not every sleeper would ever be the same. Not every bit of wood's always the same. So hopefully it'll add an element of naturalness to it, perhaps. And all I'm doing now is just putting more of this wood colour in. Actually, wood is one of the hardest things that I've painted. I haven't done an awful lot with people's skin tones and things like that, and I imagine that's probably much harder. But I've always struggled with wood because there's so many different types of wood, and I don't really know anything about wood. Mahogany, chestnut, walnut, so on and so forth. What woods were used for what colours and stuff did different woods have. So there's a generic wood, isn't there? When someone paints a wood thing, there's a general wood, light wood, dark bark. I've always struggled with it. And I think that ability to be able to look at something and understand what colours you need to use, and it's often if you're doing it really good, it's often not the colours that you would think. If I was going to go and paint skin, it's probably a very childish thing for me to think, but I will probably go straight in for like the sort of tan colours, the skin colours, and the peaches and things like that. But actually, there's a lot of reds and purples, a lot of that goes into it, and I think you really have to know your study so well in order to kind of... And that's before you even get to putting the paint down. Do you know what I mean? That must be such a skill set to be able to recognise what colours it is that you need. One of the projects that I'd like to do in the future actually is a skin tones workshop. I say workshop. I'd like to do it as a collaboration. So John from Out This World Mods and Minis, John Tacker, because if you're watching this right now, that is, do you remember when we were doing our October collaboration and we were talking on the little podcast that you put up on your channel? One of the things I was saying is I've got ideas to do more stuff in the future. One of those things would be to do a project where we study how to teach ourselves how to paint skin tones as a prolonged project between the two of us. Work on the same or similar or even a different model or item to paint with skin tones, and just learn how that's done. Painting at the scale that I often paint at, 28mm, 15mm or 1/35. It'd be very rare that I would ever go that deep into skin study, colours, you know what I mean. But it would be nice to be able to do something different, to be able to have an additional dimension to the hobby. I'm a war gamer, so I paint a lot of stuff for various war games and tabletop games, but actually to be able to paint something just for the sake of painting like a bust or a prop or something, I think would just be another feather in my hat. Going back over those little bits that I've just done there, they seem to have dulled off a little bit by the time I got to the end. There we go. One little bit done there. Some more hearts going in. Thank you very much. Jeff says, I think you should make your train track a raised Dutch rail line with bridge and underpasses. Just the thought. There's lots of hearts going in today, guys. Who's doing all the hearts? Thank you so much. There's only 4 viewers this evening. Who's hitting all the hearts? You guys are drunk or bored or something. Sorry for the boring thing. All right, I thought it would be fun. What's so special about Dutch rail line? I don't know. You have to put up a load of photos of a Dutch rail line. What is this thing that you speak of? I understand like overpasses and underpasses, etc. I get that, but is this something like notoriously special? Put a picture up on Facebook, on the Easy 8 Facebook page, so that everyone can see what it is that you're talking about, and then I can choose to say yes or no. I'll laugh at you for coming up with such a ridiculously stupid idea. The only reason that I bought these is because they are such a fine quality for a start. That certainly drew my attention to them. But it's just to add another sort of aesthetic addition to my existing 50mm tabletops. I play a lot of Water Tanker. It's a very... This sounds offensive. It's a very primitive game. It's got a lot of technical stuff to it. It's a very tactical game, but it's also just great for picking up and having a laugh with a beer with your mates. I love that. It's Dave. It's me. Evening. Hi, Dave. Thanks very much for the love hearts, pal. Welcome to the show. Water Tanker it's such an easy game to play once you get into it, just to be able to either have a laugh and have a beer with your buddies, which is what I do a lot, or if you want to, you could get really tactical and really technical with it at the same time. It's got that sort of duality to it, but we just seem to play, me and my friends just seem to play with the same old stuff every week. We set up the same houses and we just kind of lay it all out slightly differently, and it's just about kind of bringing a little bit more in terms of scenic options to our games, just to make every game look a little bit more different, because it makes the whole game feel that much more different. Every game is different, but if it looks different as well, it just kind of makes it feel a bit fresher. But because we play so much Water Tanker, me and my gang of friends have recently been talking about getting into other 15mm World War II games. There's quite a lot out there. There's a lot of games that kind of you can play in various scales, which I think is very thoughtful of the people who design the games. We've been thinking about playing. What's the other one, Dave, that we've been thinking about playing? I can't remember what it is now. Flames of War. That's the one. Because it's got troop elements and all sorts in there and various vehicles. Water Tanker is just about the tanks, and who doesn't love tanks? But it'd be great to be able to actually play, a different game. So by having lots more scenic options, you can introduce much more variation into your themes and your strategies and your narratives and whatever. Makes it that bit more special, doesn't it? You've got troops running around the rail tracks and whatever. A bit more than just having tanks driving over roads and tracks. And I understand that you might even be able to play bolt action in various scales too, which is really cool. I was actually graciously invited to a game of bolt action by one of our viewers a few months ago, Kez, who normally joins us in the live chat, and a gentleman called Mike, who watches the show, lives fairly local, and set up a whole day and invited me and Keslin to his house, and we had a bite to eat and a cup of tea, and he taught us how to play bolt action, because we'd never played it before, and it's designed by the original people who, behind Games Workshop, so there was a lot of similarities. So it was a game that was easy to pick up. It was a nice refresh for Mike, who hadn't played it in a long time, and it was just really, really nice. And he just, I played the Americans, Kez played the Germans. Mike was just there on hand with a rulebook and just kind of helped us understand the gameplay, and it was just really nice to play a large skirmish game. Warhammer 40,000 has, over the recent years, got sort of derailed a little bit from it being a skirmish game, as the stories have kind of included bigger epic scenes. The games have reflected that, And it's only a possibility, it's only an option for you. You don't actually have to play the big games, but because it has that in there, people want the Titans, they want the big stuff. And obviously we don't have Epic anymore. We have the 30k Legions game now, which is great. The people wanted the epic scale stuff in there, so that feel of a small skirmish game that Warhammer 40,000 used to be, a couple of units in a dreadnought, or 3 troops and a tank or whatever, that long gone are those days, and we were able to play this wonderful game of bolt action where we each had a tank and another vehicle. I had a lorry with a 50 caliber on the top, and I had a Hellcat tank destroyer, and then the other side had equal things, tanks and artillery and snipers, and it was just such a wonderful day. I was ever so grateful for them. I haven't spoken to Mike for a little while actually, so Mike, if you're watching this, I really enjoyed that day. It was a really nice time, and I lost really quite badly. There was a lot of taking the advantage from each other. Kez and I were constantly at each other's throats for victory points and things. It's such a great time that I think it'd be great to play bolt action in 15mm as well. The problem with having so many different games is you have to have the terrain to be able to do it, and that takes up so much time, space and money that I just don't have. So if I can play lots of different games using the same stuff, brilliant, right? It's exactly what I want. If I can play 6 games with one set of terrain and models, fantastic. What a tanker, absolutely brilliant to be able to pick up in a heartbeat, throw some really cool tanks down, make it balanced, make it unbalanced, crack open a couple of beers and just watch the incredible scenes unfold in front of you. What a Tanker is a game that you can pick up in 15 minutes and have a right old laugh. It takes sometimes longer to set a table up than it does to understand the rules, and it's hilarious and tactical. It really is very, very tactical if you want it to be. But it would be nice to be able to play something a bit more involving, perhaps. Jeff says it's a rail line on a tall mound, so you can drive under them in tunnels or hide behind them, kind of thing. Oh, well, so like the ballast is on a big mound. Is that what you mean? I think I know what you're talking about. That would be cool. Just adding a bit of water to the pinks. It's getting a bit cakey down there. Yeah. Adrian says Titans taking the mini out of miniatures. It absolutely, yeah. Don't get me wrong though, like it's still cool. 40k was what really introduced me into playing war games, and it will always be my original love in terms of war games. I will never not do it. I'll never not play it. And I know that some people got sort of frustrated with it over the years as the rules changed, or gaming clubs became quite overly competitive, perhaps. I get it all, but I love the stories. I love the sort of the imaginary concept of fights and stories and narratives and all the imagery, all the artwork, whatever that drove my imagination as a kid, young man. Loved it all. Got lost in all that sort of stuff. So I'll never put it away. But it has changed. And if you remember back in 2nd edition, all those years ago, back in the mid-90s, whenever you saw the battle reports in the White Dwarf, it was always like, 2 tactical squads of Space Marines and an assault squad, maybe a dreadnought or a tank or something. That's what it was. That's how big the games used to be. But the rules were so much more involving and complicated that the game took that much longer to play. And I remember my friend used to come around every weekend. He would take the bus. It would take him half an hour to get to my house, and he'd bring everything he had, and I'd play with everything I had. And we didn't really have any sort of army structures. We just played with all of our miniatures, and it would take 6 to 8 hours to play a game, and we loved it. And it was just how we played our Saturdays. But it still wasn't a huge game. There wasn't like Titans. There weren't like massive things like that. We just played with everything that we had. But now you can play with Titans in Titan. What's the not Mechanicus, Titanicus, So you can play that scale if you want to with all the really big walkers, because they're all really cool, and you should definitely play it if you're into that sort of stuff. And they've just released the Legion's version of Epic, which is all the 30k style stuff, all the Horus Heresy stuff in Epic style. And Epic used to be such a wonderful game, and I'm really quite surprised that it, I'm going to say died out, but you know, stopped being available perhaps is a better way or more appropriate way of saying it. But Epic was epic. I never played it. My friends did. I saw a few games, and that was all about the bigger epic stuff, obviously. It was all about the big titans, the big robots, the massive theatre of war where you have a base and it would have a squad on it, and it was all about that larger scale stuff. But now, and I do agree with the move, like 40k over the years. If you remember back to Apocalypse, it was all about taking the really big tanks, and you could have the big titans in it as well if you wanted to. 40k now kind of includes, in my mind anyway, it includes the options for you to either say, oh yeah, let's just play a small game where we both take a couple of tactical squads, or you know, and a tank, or let's play with everything we've got, let's play for the whole weekend. You've got those options to hand if you want to, and I think that's a great move. That gives players the decision to do what they want to do without actually changing the game that they're playing. Dave there saying it's frustrating as well. He's talking about what a tanker. Yes, what a tanker. While a great laugh, easy to pick up, hilarious fun, it can be incredibly frustrating as well. We played a game, Dave and I, with some other friends, just this Wednesday gone, and I took a Firefly because we often ally up. David often plays the Soviets, and we will team up against the Axis. Dave took a T-34-85 and I took a Firefly. Another friend of ours took a Pershing, so you know, big hitting stuff. And my little Firefly barely moved for the entire thing because it's just a slow tank, and every time I was rolling to move, I was just not rolling very far at all. I think the maximum I actually moved was, in one turn I moved 9 inches, but for all the other turns that I moved, I don't think I moved any more than 3 inches. And yeah, that was just so frustrating. And the Firefly's a slow tank, so you only get one move per turn, as where other tanks can get, you know, multiple. Or sometimes you line up the perfect shot. You've got a round in the chamber, it's ready to go, but your gunner's just not looking out of the targeting reticle, and you just don't have it aimed at, and everything else is ready to go, but you can't shoot at it because you haven't got it in your target, in your sights. Or everything's ready to go, but you need that move dice to be able to turn your turret around, and it's just out of arc. Oh, it's so frustrating. Or everything lines up and you've got him in the sights. Your commander's picked him out. Your loader's on point and he's got one in the breach. Your gunner shoots. It was a really easy shot, but the shot goes wild because you're a dumbass. I got one shot off on a Jagdpanther during the game, which we have decided is possibly one of the finer tanks in the games because all the rules line up on that particular tank. It burst out of the bushes beside my Firefly. It took several shots. It didn't even really do much to me. I was just very, very fortunate. I was able to maneuver with very minimal movement dice. I was able to kind of get into a position and I shot it square in the side, point blank range with my Firefly. It's a big old gun on a Firefly. And I just rolled such an annoyingly low number. It just... Ugh. But that was the only shot I fired all game. Everything else just didn't line up at all. And it still took the 3 enemies to get into position and take about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour to actually shoot me and destroy me. For a while I thought I was going to recover from it, but Alas, it was not the case. Jeff says that's why they made Kill Team in it, so you can just carry a small squad to the club and play a quick game. It's exactly that. Absolutely, yeah. Going back to 40k, Kill Team is now the skirmish game, sort of official, if you like. But with a lot more emphasis on the individuals in your squad. So where the old original games of 40k, and again this is just a personal opinion, not actual fact, but where you would play the old 40k game, you would go in with maybe 3 or 4 squads, maybe a bit more, and a tank or a dreadnought or something. Kill Team was all about an individual unit, so you can kind of give them all names and upskill them through a campaign if you wanted to. I haven't actually played Kill Team for some years. I've never owned it. A friend of mine owned a lot of the content from the boxes, and I had a great time playing it. Kill Team, I think, originated from an old White Dwarf article, where it was, get your favourite squad, give them all names, and then you could go and play these small games with it, and it was really, really popular. And I think because of that old style of play, it's all about getting to know, especially if you've got Space Marines, you'll have even fewer of them than anybody else, because one Space Marine's worth 100 men. So you kind of get to know the individuals a little bit more, perhaps, as well. And you send them off on stupid death-defying missions to go and take on whatever. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Have one squad, stick them in a little case, carry everything in your rucksack, go play a game somewhere. Well, I love that about the Warhammer games. The Games Workshop stuff is, you could, like Adrian saying, turn up to a game where it's all Titans. And we've seen the pictures going around on the internet, haven't we, where you can see people playing with 4-foot tall miniatures, playing across a fortress that takes up a whole sort of function room. We've seen all of that sort of stuff, and you can play those games. I think the problem with Apocalypse is that when Titans and mini Titans and things are shooting, they're doing so much damage that they're removing squads from the table, and if you're taking squads in at 40k scale, that's so much effort just to put them down, then remove them, that people really wouldn't be, I certainly wouldn't be interested in that, which is why Epic is definitely that game. And they used to do the Epic scale fantasy Warhammer as well, which was called Warmaster. I've never saw that game being played or participated, but I've got a few friends who are a little bit older than I am at work who remember those days, and they absolutely loved it, to play those huge sort of army commanding scale games. That, yeah, absolutely brilliant. Nice to be able to chat about something quite passionately while I'm sitting here just doing the monotonous task of painting sleepers. Got quite a bit done though. Got 1, 2, 3 things here. I mean, I didn't paint the sleepers, I just stained them, but to still get this far, it's a good chunk done today. I'm not going to go anywhere until they're all at least stained, all the ones that I've done here tonight. So if I don't get this done by the end of the show, I'll be over at Discord at the Easy 8 After Party, where you can come and join me live on a video if you want to. Or you could just kind of type if you like, or just use your microphone if you're camera shy. Doesn't always suit everybody. You can come and have a beer, have a drink, talk rubbish, talk about your stuff if you want to, show some pictures, have a look at everything that, all the pictures that people have been leaving up in the past. Come and ask me questions. Come and answer my questions. Talk passionately about 40k. Tell me what games you're playing. Do we have many Mech Warrior or Battletech fans? Mech Warrior, put my teeth in. Are there any games out there that I don't play? People that play? Is there any Affinity players? One game that I've always wanted to play, and a friend of mine played it at work, but I never got the chance to play with him. And then he had some big life changes, and I think he ended up getting rid of a lot of his old game stock. But a game that I really wanted to play was Malifaux, which is obviously, it's a miniatures game, so you have miniatures to paint and play with. but a lot of the game is played through the use of decks of cards. So you have like abilities and things like that. You play your cards down and move your miniatures around. But it was just a totally different theme. It had sort of a sci-fi, alternative Wild West sort of vibe to it. Looked really cool. Interested if there's any Malifaux players out there who watch the show. Anyone's wondering how to spell Malifaux, M-A-L-I-F-A-U-X. When I saw it, I was like, what's Malifaux? And that's how I knew my friend played. It's not Malifaux. Malifaux. And that's exactly how he sounded as well. Malifaux. Infinity looks like a great game as well. Drop Zone Commander, very interested in that. What puts me off again is it's an entire new set of terrain, and it's all very expensive actually. But it's a really big popular game. Would love to have a go at that. Kez is a big BattleTech fan, and recently, with about a year ago, bought the new release BattleTech game called Alpha Strike, and that is an absolutely fantastic game. Haven't played that for a little while. But Kez, not on tonight, but recently posted a picture of the terrain that she's been building. So we went to Salute back in the summer, the big War Games convention in London. What a day out that was. And Kez didn't really have any intention of buying much stuff, but made a massive order from Uncertain Scenery of like all the modular terrain tiles. Absolutely fantastic, and has been working diligently ever since, and has recently just finished the last batch to play on BattleTech games. And I think the scale there is 1/600, something like that. Is that right? 600? 12 mil or 10 mil or something like that. Almost done on this one here. I'm catching the occasional stone with this brown colour, but as I've been chatting away, I've actually kind of lightened up a little bit, and I'm just really not getting all that worked up about not being that accurate. And that's exactly the sort of mentality that I want here. Sure that colour is nice and established, nice and bold colour there. There we go. Look at that. Done. Ooh. Right, let's I'm just gonna pop that one on there. That is pretty much dry, so I'm comfortable to put that there without destroying or making it stick. Let's drink this cold tea. Oh. Yeah, that's cold. And in my beard. Okay, I've got a couple of these. Do you remember these old detail brushes that I had? These really tiny micro brushes, synthetic, and over the years of doing it, they don't hold their points anymore, but they still got quite a nice small, brush head on them, and they're quite good for doing little bits and pieces like this. I've got tea in my beard. Well, what I do is I get the colour that I want to dry brush, and I can just kind of do like a little detail dry brush, and very, very useful. But the colour that I'm going to do isn't just the original colour, it's a little bit of white in there as well. So I'm going to go back to my earth colour, put a little dollop in there. I don't want much because it's not like I'm painting a whole lot, just a dry brushing thing. A tiny bit of white on the side, and I'm just going to mix it by eye just to create a slightly whiter slightly lighter tone colour, just so it stands out a little bit more. And as I work my way through that batch of paint, I'll just make more. There we go. It would be nice if I had something to wipe that off on. Fortunately, I've got lots of little textured bases and stuff all around the place here. So, yeah. This is my texture palette at the moment. If anyone from the 3D Gizmo community is watching this right now, hello. I'm actually planning on embarking on a little mission to design and 3D print myself my own custom texture palette. So if you've got any sort of interests in sort of advising me through that, or any ideas and suggestions, or obvious pitfalls that I might fall into, come and have a chat with me. I'd love to get your input on it. So all I'm doing now is just a very, very light dry brush. Now, you remember last week I actually got like a dry brush and went up and down, and what it did is obviously it affected the colour of the ballast, and it was glaringly obvious to my eye, and caused me lots of mental instabilities, and I was furious with myself for even thinking that something like that might work. So here I am doing it with a tiny little detail brush, making sure that I've got yeah, enough on this tiny little brush to sort of pick those little details out, but without going too crazy. And all I'm hoping is that as I'm moving along, that it's the right colour and it matches with this. I think it's going to be okay. Again, more than anything, it's just about picking out the edges of the sleepers so that they stand out a little bit. I can also dull down those little water stains from the wash stage, the staining stage, and that looks pretty good. But also there is a really good wood grain effect literally sculpted into them, and I want to show that off, and this does pick them out quite clearly, which is cool. My hand always works better than a texture palette does. Every week I always come downstairs from the studio and my partner's like, "You've got more paint on your hands than you have on your miniatures, haven't you?" I'm like, yeah, you're right, I do. How many more treks to do, says Dave. Oh, mate, there's a pile over here. I'll take a picture of them all later on. They're all in various states of being painted. I'll take a picture and I'll put them on Facebook so you can see. But I think in total I've got about 14, 15 or something like that. I keep forgetting how many exactly. Oops, went a bit too heavy on that one. Oh, never mind. There's that random variation that I was looking for, I suppose. Jeff says, sometimes it's nice to make your own games, innit? Asteroids! Yeah, do you know what? One day I'd actually like to make that as a thing. And, you know, I've been talking with the the Easy 8 team that are going away next weekend to Recon. I've been talking about, like, you know, doing more shows in the future. If it all works out well this time, go into the Recon show. If we have a great time and the format seems to suit us, we get something out of it, then we'll go along to future shows and we'll run more games. And I can always run the Asteroids game. Asteroids is a game that my dad designed and I played a lot as a kid, and it's so simple, but it's basically dodging asteroids. Really, really simple. I mean, what is the point of playing games? It's to entertain and chat and play with your mates, isn't it? As long as you're having fun. As long as it's something that you can all get behind. An interest that you all have, and all me and my friends, we all love tanks, so it gets played a lot. Who doesn't love tanks, right? My partner, she just doesn't get it. Yeah, I'm actually really happy with that, as I'm getting a little bit more practice with each section. They're starting to stand out better and better every single time, and I really like that. And then my camera sort of seems to lose the quality a little bit, but that works for me. I'm really happy with that. What I'm going to do now, of course, is I'm going to see if I can do the rails nice and quickly, because that would be nice for you to be able to see, because I did this last week all off air on Discord. Nice and quickly, give this a whiz. Do you remember the game you made for a school project, Warp? That was great. Yes, I do. Perhaps I'll do a feature on that. I've still got it. I did that in my third year. So for those in the States, that's third grade. We call it year 9 in this country. So I must have been, 12? Yeah, started secondary school when I was at 11? 10, 11, 12, 13 at most is when I made that game, and I'm now 42 and I've still got it and all the original pieces. It's all still there, man. Cool, huh? Right, so I've got some charred brown. I love this colour. Go-to colour for rusty metal, mud, everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start on the side here on the edge of this rail. And literally just make sure that I work my way all the way along and as far down as the depth of detail allows me to go. As I'm working my way along, I am just getting those, I don't know what they're called, but the little bits where the railroad spikes go into, yeah? Let's call them brackets. I say I'm not a train enthusiast, I don't know what it's called. But the bits that bolt down to the sleepers. I'm just kind of giving those a little bit of attention as I go past. I will come and do them again, neater in a minute. But for now, I'm just getting some paint on them. Giving them a little bit of attention. Now, because the rails are really quite flat and devoid of any sort of detail, when you're surrounded by what looks like a static TV screen of ballast, if I have any bits that I miss, they'll just be like light grey and it will stand out really, really badly. So I am just making sure that I'm taking the time to make sure that all the bits here are painted. Now, do you remember last week we were talking about these little sections here that I didn't paint them wood because we think that they are metal. Shall I just paint them rusty metal like everything else? I think that's probably really the best thing to do, isn't it? It's just protecting the hinges underneath that shunt the junctions from side to side. That's what I think that is. I think I should just paint it rusty metal. And then I'm going to just turn it around, and I'm working on the same piece of rail here so that I don't get confused with all the different bits. I'm just doing one line at a time. Tough bit to do just inside that little junction bit there, so because it's so little to see in there, it doesn't really matter what I paint, so I'm just kind of cramming that dark brown colour into that little gap. I think that's pretty much everything. I'm going to do that little section there as well because it's right beside it, that little bit that I've been painting. Make sure I do the ends. Yeah, dirty rusty, that's what Jeff's saying. It's all the same, isn't it? It's all the same bit. Make sure I get in there on the inside of it as well. And now paint the top. Even though I'm going to go over and do a bit of silver in a bit, what I'm really doing here is I'm just kind of giving a bit of paint texture for the silver to sit on top of. But also in patches, maybe I don't, the silver doesn't take, but it will just show like a little bit of rusty brown through underneath, better than showing the grey in my mind. I just like to make sure that I'm putting paint on everything. There we go. And now, if you look at this, the character is starting to change when you consider that it's come from this piece over here. Put your finger right in the paint, Danny. That's exactly what you should be doing. What an idiot. the character is now is starting to change. If I was to paint all of these rails in exactly the same way, all of that starts to look somewhat finished when you compare that to something that's got only grey on it. When you compare it to something that's only been sort of primed and badly to something that's completely unpainted. There's so much character starting to come out now, and that's kind of how I've been keeping myself sort of motivated, is knowing that actually, while this doesn't look like a lot of work, it's a lot of work, right? So that's what I'm really liking at the moment. When it all starts to come together and the character of that piece that you're painting starts to show, it's all worth it at that point, right? We are really, really close to the end of the show, so if there's anything that you wanted to talk about while we're still here live on air, or a question you wanted to ask, or something you wanted to, I don't know, talk about, now's the time, because I'm yabbering on. I'm going to paint these little bits like this. I could even like dry brush these little bits silver just to make sure that, you know, that the casual observer identifies them as metal rather than wood, because there's a lot of brown going on here. It's all up to interpretation, isn't it? Do rust colours and things on them as well. Stuff going on in there, that all these little detailed bits and stuff in there. Again, I'll take some really nice detailed photographs or up close photographs so you can see all the attention to detail that John and Samantha have put into all this stuff. It's crazy. When I get that colour opaque enough, it really does stand out against the rest of the wood, which is why it's quite nice to have that lighter wood for the sleepers, even though sleepers, everyone keeps telling me, they're really, really dark. But I say again, at this scale, it's not really about realism so much as expression, you know, about making you see all the bits of detail that are on there, whilst not making it too far removed from reality. You still know that that's train tracks, right? So yeah, got a little bit of work this evening. All I'm going to really do today, I think, now is get those stained and then both this piece here and this piece here dry brushed, and then I might finish the rails on this one here. And I'm going to do that over at Discord at the Easy 8 After Party. And like I say, you can come and join me over there in just a minute too, if you want to. But let's get away from this crazy workbench. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to drink the cold tea. Tastes like disappointment. Oh la la. Caffeine, man, it keeps me going. It's just a lot of work, isn't it? It's just a lot of grind. It's just important to just keep on going. So what I think I'm going to do over the weekend, because I've still got quite a lot of unpainted bits that just need to be brought up to speed now. What I'm going to do, I think, is get them primed, airbrush them, get the greys on there, and yeah, get them. They've all got like a grey wash on them as well, so they all need to be brought up to speed so that I can just literally start picking them up, do the sleepers on them. I know where everything is. If I bring everything up together, then it's just a case of doing sleepers, and I'm probably going to take them to Recon with me, so you can come and watch me either live on the show, so hopefully there'll be a live stream from there, or you can come along to Recon, support the event, and you can see me suffering and painting them there. On that subject, not going to be here next Friday, because next Friday is a travel day for me and the Easy 8 team. We are travelling, I forget how many miles it is. David did work it out, because David is driving, but it's a very, very long trip for us. We live right down in the southwest of the UK, and this is right up by Manchester, so it's further out, so it's easily 5-6 hours on the road for us. So we're not going to be here on Friday. So what I'm going to do, and what I've been planning to do, is to run a live stream from Recon itself. That does rely on there being a decent enough internet connection there, and having all of the available bits and pieces. 310 miles one way. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I need to make sure that we can actually run and support a live stream there. It's very new territory for me and for Matt and the Pit Gaming Shop team who are running the show. Don't really have all the information, and because they're picking up from previous showrunners. Live shows have never really been run like that from these sorts of events, so we're kind of the first to kind of do it on this format. So it's really a test run. It's a practice for future goes, right? So hopefully I will be able to run a live show for next week from Recon itself. It will be during the day on the Saturday. We are going to be there. The doors open at 10 AM and then doors close. I think it's for maybe 5 PM. So around about midday-ish, we'll be doing a live stream. because it's a very, very different scenario than our normal Friday nights. It'll probably just be for the hour. And it won't just be me painting. There will obviously be, on the other side of the screen from what you see, there will be an actual event going on. So there's going to be a lot of noise, a lot of clamour, and what I'm expecting is, while I'm painting, people coming up and talking to me. It's very exciting. I'm really looking forward to it, and frankly, despite the fact that I'm now into my 4th year doing this, I'm actually very, very nervous about it. But I like that. I'm a theatrical person, darling. I grew up in the theatre, so I'm quite prepared for that. And what I'm hoping to do also is to go around and do a lot more smaller live videos. Live is the shtick of Easy. I'm not going to do pre-recorded stuff really, but I'm going to go around and, if people are willing, go and visit all the traders and just kind of bring them into the Easy 8 community, because that's what this show is all about. That's it's not just a show, it's a family, it's a community, a network of people that we should know about. All the traders that are out there and all the companies, businesses, service providers, etc. We should know about them all, and hopefully that they're okay with me coming up with them with a little mobile phone and doing a little YouTube or Facebook short or something, allowing them the space to kind of talk freely and maybe kind of pitch themselves a little bit, and me to kind of show you their table and kind of bring you Recon to your homes if you're unable to make it. That's my plan. Now, obviously, I've been talking to Matt and the Pit Gaming Shop team to ensure that the infrastructure is there for me to be able to run the show. They are doing everything they can to set up and provide that, but it just depends on, is there an internet connection there, because I need that to be able to do this show, and these are just answers that we haven't been able to fully pin down. So there's a lot of just kind of firing from the hip this weekend coming, but it's just going to be a really nice experience to go. When I'm there, not only am I going to be doing a live show and doing some painting at the same time, I'm going to have a little display table of a lot of the miniatures that I painted. The community are bringing their stuff as well, just to kind of show you the stuff that we have successfully done, or not successfully done in my case, since the show started all the way back those years, back in the pandemic. You know, and we're also going to be running some games, and you are more than welcome to come along and watch us play the games, join in, play the games. We'll run a game for you so you can play against your friends if you want to, ask us questions, so, you know, make suggestions, do whatever, and of course we're there to put the name of Easy 8 out there into, you know, the north of the UK. So on that subject as well, if you do like what we do here, I know today's been a bit more mind-numbing than other shows, but please do subscribe. I say this every week, and I remember when I started out with Easy 8, I wasn't going to be the person to say, hey, subscribe, but please do subscribe. It's grown more from what it was in its humble days. I love the community, I love the network, the little Easy 8 family that we've got, and I want it to be bigger, because we all have an interest in these hobbies. We should be talking about it, sharing our ideas, and kind of inspiring and motivating other people. So if you know someone, or you think you know someone who might be interested, bring them along. Go and tell them, print it out, put it on a poster, whatever, and invite them to come along to the show, get them to come along to events that we're attending, and subscribe. Let's see if we can get to 150 subscribers before the end of the year. We're back up to 132. Sometimes the number goes up, sometimes it goes down, and that's fine. It's not for everybody, but it'd be really, really lovely if we get to 150 by the end of this year. That would literally make my year. Moving into next year, got loads of ideas, but it's very early doors to be talking about that. All you need to know about is that next week we're going to be in Recon in the north of England. Go and there's links down there. Go and check it all out, man. Subscribe, thumbs up, because it hits the algorithm, and I just don't know how that works. And that's that for this week. Thank you for keeping me company while I did all this really tiring work, but it's going to look so good when it's done. It really is. And see you at Recon, right? I'm really nervous, but it's going to be a great weekend. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thanks for keeping me company this evening. I hope you've got a lot of work done, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care for now. See you soon. Bye-bye. I don't even have any trains for these train tracks. It's crazy.